Yeah. And I think one thing that people associate with capitalism that I don't necessarily think has to be true is your, you know, just your big I think it's probably Marx's fault that everyone thinks of it this way because really we did have a free market system before that and it was very agrarian and it was very distributed and you did have major economic centers, when Marx was writing in the 1840s or whatever it was. Um,
Yeah.
you did have major economic centers, but really most of the world was a pretty distributed free marketplace. Like it was very spread out and the wealth wasn't centralized in one spot. It was just when the Industrial Revolution came, the money and the investment followed the opportunity that centralizing it offered. The
Yeah.
economies of scale that came with machinery and a large workforce and factories is why the reason that so much of that got centralized was because that's where you could make really big returns on your investment. And I think that now you don't need that centralization. And so I think we're going to see a different, I don't know, kind of capitalism dressed a little differently than we've seen it for the last 150 years, if that makes sense. It'll
Yeah.
just look a little different.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you mentioned the Industrial Revolution, and that really upended families. It upended just our way of life. Huge move from the rural areas to the urban areas. Um, and then we are in what I think Klaus Schwab would call of Davos or Davos. He's the Davos man guy, but he would call it the fourth industrial revolution, which has to do with the digital economy
Hmm.
and the dematerialized one. And so we're in another disruption right now where we have way more from manufacturing jobs, although we still really high when it comes to manufacturing products. It's just we have automated so much of that, and we've moved to an economy that really is heavily reliant upon our intellectual capital
Hmm.
and our freelance ability, our gig work ability, which I mean, that to get political for a moment, that's what Congress is talking about right now is the PRO Act, which would essentially make gig work and freelance work and contract work very, very difficult because they in some ways romanticize this golden era of manufacturing that we don't need to go back to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that we also have this idea that every job has to be able to support a family of four. And it's like, but if every job is supposed to be like that, all you're going to do is get rid of the jobs that lead to be having the skills to actually support the family of four. Like